Hail, fine citizens of Norrath, and welcome to another episode of a Clockwork Mining Corp Podcast. I'll be your host, Zaphos, and today I want to talk to you guys about crafting, Return of the Crafter. So basically, I've been doing a lot of talking and thinking about this subject. In fact, it did come up a little bit today on the new Twitch stream podcast Into the Portal in conjunction and hosted by EQNexus. And I'll link to that below in the description, but that is where you can find me, probably on a weekly basis or something similar to that, along with a few other people, our host, EQNexus, along with Geek Domo and Locke. And we're having a great time there. Absolute fun time. We did the first show today. Again, I'll link it in the description below. But we had an awesome time. We talked for about 2 hours, all things EQNext and EQ Landmark. It was just absolutely awesome to get in and really, have some mind share about all these cool topics as we head into Gamescom this week, where we're hopefully going to find out tons of new information on EQNext and EQNext Landmark. So this could be a very exciting week for EQ fans the world over and finding out additional information. So I'm pumped for that. So a little bit of a news update there. So this is exciting though. Crafting, man, I used to play Ultima Online, as you probably know, I've mentioned several times. And I used to love crafting, standing around the, blacksmith's shop, smelting ore, hitting things in the anvil, putting my name on stuff and saying, here you go, world, here's my wares. I'm the master, craftsman. I'm the master maker of swords and breastplates and whatever else. And I thought that was really, really fun to be able to do that and contribute to the community. Some guys were out, player killing and PvPing, wearing my gear. Other guys were out dungeon hunting, wearing my gear, killing Balrogs. There was all this exciting stuff knowing that my gear was out there driving the world. And that's what it really amounted to. And I think in a true sandbox game, crafters really come to the forefront of the player-driven economy and of what really keeps things ticking over. It's a hope and a desire and an excitement I have around EQNext that crafters will be returning to the forefront of gaming and be given a true place in a gaming world that they can truly change and drive. Just like in combat in a game like EQNext, if you're really focused on doing combat activities all the time, that's all you want to do. Every time you log in, you want to go kick some orc butt. That's great. And you can do that. But as you do that, you're going to influence the game world. You're going to influence what happens. You're going to influence the region, the politics, the AI responds to that and changes and so forth. So that's going to be ripples ever, reaching out into the gaming universe. And that's really exciting. Whenever you are maybe just exploring, you're also contributing, you're finding new things, you're bringing back a wealth of knowledge that you can then decide to share or not. And probably with it, you're going to do some other things along the way. If you are focused on rallying calls, which are going out into the world and contributing to a process of change that's permanent in the world, such as building a city or rebuilding a city, then you're also contributing. But what about crafters? So many times in so many games and so many linear theme park MMOs, crafters have been relegated to second-rate citizens. And I talked about this today on the show with the team at EQNexus on the Into the Portal show. I mentioned that I felt that it was disappointing that all these games had promised crafting and never really delivered. So I want to get back to those days of becoming integral, and I think we are on the brink of that in the EQNext world. Where I see this becoming really important is being able to augment weapons, being able to create weapons, being able to design a weapon. And because of the way that voxels work, imagine being able to take those tools that we're going to see in Landmark and apply them in the EQNext universe to create cool weaponry. I think there's going to have to be some interesting type of control around that, but that's what I hope and expect to see. We've heard from the devs at SOE Live that there's going to be these, kinds of clothing and armors and lots of different cosmetic things that you can create and wear, and they're going to have control over that. Again, I think these things will have to be vetted in some way, but at the same time, working with these voxels to create and craft your own elements in the game, such as armor and weapons and clothes, is going to be amazing. What I really hope to see, though, in addition to that, is the ability to augment those things in, magical ways. For example, in Cube World, a game which is really fun and uses voxels as well, I can augment my sword by putting on an Ice Spirit block. And the Ice Spirit block has certain effects that are different from the Wind Spirit block and so forth and so on, whether that be knockback or stun or whatever. And I think that would be something really awesome. Imagine being able to prepare and craft a whole, brand new axe of doom that has some kind of really cool effects on it, and also kind of has those effects be represented visually in the game world. I think that's going to be really exciting. I think if you're an explorer, you're also going to want to know crafters. Crafters are going to perhaps, maybe there's boats in Everquest Next. We certainly saw them in games like Ultima Online. They need to make a comeback. In games like EVE Online, you're essentially all in a boat. You're in spaceships traveling the world. And I think exploration is such a big part of this game. Exploring oceans is something I think would be really cool. And it was certainly one of my favorite things to do when I explored in Ultima Online, and attacking water elementals and all sorts of things on the oceans. Well, that was really, really fun. And I think that games like Darkfall and Holy Wars have similar things, and even boat-based battles. And that's something that's been hinted at, but not confirmed by the devs. And I think it would be really exciting to have that. And again, crafters would be the core of how those things are built. Crafters can be the core of how player housing or player cities or whatever we're able to have in EQNext. I expect it'll be extensive, but those things will be driven by crafters. Decorations for your property, all of these things driven by crafters. So I get that it's exciting that you think about these people, these players, your guildmates perhaps in EQNext, going out into the world and using your tools and equipment. You become a valuable and central part of the economy and of the game world. I have this great idea of being in a guild, and the guild has designated crafters again, something that is a prestigious role, something that's really important to the absolute stability and capability of the guild to function. I love that. Isn't that so cool? It's actually going to be a role in and of itself, and something that is applicable to the universe. It also ties in with exploration, because I think one of the things I've always loved about crafting is to go out and find those rare materials. The idea of going out and finding rare materials to craft more cool things, the excitement of knowing that maybe you're not the most combat savvy, you're not the most combat trained, but you want to go out and risk life and limb to go down into some kind of cave to try and find some amazing ore, or maybe you decide to team up with buddies who are combat savvy to do that. All those kind of things are exciting, but I do think there should be some risk-reward type of calculation, some trade-off. I think if you want to focus on crafting, there should be a system in the game to allow that without making you the best swordsman in the world, the best mage, the best paladin, but also the best crafter. I'd like to see there be some kind of requirements, and probably through some kind of skill point system, to ensure that that doesn't happen. I think there should be a decision made that, hey, I'm going to craft. So I think that's really exciting. I'm interested to see how elements that we'll talk about later, such as the Rosong book, if I'm pronouncing that right, that's going to guide us and keep track of our, keep a record of our activities and history in the world, and guide us along the way to activities that we enjoy. How that plays into somebody that wants to craft, how crafting will be perceived as an element of the game. And of course, I think it's going to extend into exploration and take you outside of just staying in the town all the time. But there's something to be said for staying inside the town, for staying at those crafting places, for plying your trade amongst the citizenry, and knowing that when those adventurers come back from days on end of exploring and fighting goblins and orcs and dragons, they come straight to you to repair gear, to build new gear, and to become more potent in how they interact with the world. And as such, you're rippling throughout the entire game world. I think it's really exciting. For me, it's definitely something I'm going to spend a lot of time doing, and it's one of those things that, being able to be a crafter one day and decide that you're going to change and go into combat, the world is your oyster. What about you guys? What do you think about this concept, the return of the crafter? Are you excited that finally a game is going to give you that option? Something MMO players have been asking for a decade? Are you going to embrace that and decide to focus heavily on crafting? Will you take those things you learn in EQNext Landmark and look to build more buildings, grander buildings, big cities, templates for people to build from? Will you become like I am, and I want a master brick builder? Will you build the best templates for bricks in the universe? I want to try it. I want to build some great templates and put them on the Player Studio, and I want to focus on building and exploring and building things that players are going to need and want and enjoy, and becoming a really central player in the economy. That's the kind of the concept that I had behind the Clockwork Mining Corp, right? Go out mining and bring all these resources and build all these cool things that people need. I love that we can do that in this game, and it seems to be they're going to give us a lot of freedom to execute that plan. Let's hope so. Let me know what your thoughts are. How much crafting are you going to do? And are you a crafter at heart who's excited for the return of the crafter? Till next time, guys. Take care. Travel safe.